and welcome to a special episode of the Riyal Deal Plus, coming to you from the Al Arabiya English studios. Now, tourism in Saudi Arabia is going from strength to strength, breaking records every year, both in terms of domestic and international tourist arrivals and tourism revenues. Well, 115 million tourists, domestic and international, brought in around $75.5 billion last year. Well, as visitor numbers continue to rise, the demand for hotels is only going to grow, in line with Vision 2030 goals. Well, today we are joined by Sir Rocco Forte, who is the president of Rocco Forte Hotels, one of the most iconic names in luxury hospitality. Well, the group, which is headquartered in London, operates hotels across the United Kingdom and Europe. And in December 2023, Rocco Forte Hotels entered a landmark partnership with Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which acquired a stake of 49%. Well, Sir Rocco Forte, thank you very much indeed for coming to see us. You agreed a deal in December 2023 to sell 49% of your family's hotel chain to Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. What was the rationale for that deal with the PIF?
Well, I decided because I had members of my family who had interest. When I first started the business in '97, my father invested a bit of money. And when my parents died, my sisters, I have 5 sisters, one Olga who works with me, the others didn't. They all inherited shares in the business, and they had no involvement in the business, so they kept complaining about this. And so I thought I should find a way of taking them out. And so I'd seen there's some transactions in the market which were quite attractive. So I said to Rothschilds, who were my bank, let's see if there's anybody interested. And we sent out a teaser to about 20 companies. And PIF came back straight away and said, yes, we're interested. We're only interested if we can deal exclusively with you. We don't want to enter into an auction. So we sent them information. They made an offer which was attractive to us, and we went ahead. And the negotiations took, I suppose, about 6 or 7 months to come to completion. And so they invested, not only they bought my sister's shares, they invested money into the company as well, which significantly strengthened our balance sheet. The money invested was really to enhance our growth capabilities, but we've also used it to catch up in our refurbishments programs, which were delayed by the COVID period, which was 2 years of basic survival for me. Of course, it raised our profile in the world, this deal. PIF are a long-term partner. They look long-term into the future. We're a family business, and I have that same outlook. They're not a fund that comes in and out, and wants to turn a profit in the meantime. And so they're the ideal partner for us. They're very good partners. Obviously, they've invested in a huge number of companies around the world, of which we're one. And they're very supportive, and we work well together. Okay,
so 2 years on, you'd say it's been a good arrangement.
Yes, very good, yes.
Okay. What are your plans for opening new hotels in this region, the Middle East, in particular in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, we've done most of our development in Europe and a lot in Italy in recent years. And we're opening in Milan, on Via La Spiga, the Carlton in Milan, in a week's time, in fact. And most of our development pipeline is in Italy. Obviously, with a deal with PIF, it makes sense for us to come into this part of the world. And obviously, there are a lot of developments taking place in Saudi Arabia, and we're looking, and we're close to a deal on one of them on the Red Sea, a hotel which is being developed in the Red Sea. And obviously, you were talking earlier about tourism development. I mean, they really hit it in a big way. And they're building a huge number of hotels in a lot of different destinations with a view to becoming, an international tourist destination. I mean, the fascination of Saudi Arabia is it's so diverse. It's a huge country. They've got mountain regions, coastal areas, and of course, Riyadh is going to be one of the biggest centres in this part of the world, if not the biggest, with a huge growth in population, and a lot of hotel development is taking place there as well. So obviously our partners are keen that we should be involved, but I'm keen also because I think it's very exciting what is happening there.
You first went to Saudi Arabia, I gather, in the mid-1970s. I'd just be really curious to hear from you what you've witnessed in terms of change during those 50-odd years.
Well, I hadn't been back much in between. In the old Trust House Forte company, we had a management contract in Riyadh, and I went with the guy responsible at the time, very young man, to meet with the owners, and that was my first impression of Saudi Arabia. It was very different then to what it is today, and I think what is happening in Saudi Arabia today is quite visionary, actually, and the drive and the enthusiasm that's been created is, I mean, quite amazing. I think, Riyadh today reminds me a little bit of New York in the 80s. There's a sort of electric atmosphere and a can-do approach to things. And of course, the encouraging women into the workplace has had a big effect. That's the main difference. You see, we were briefly involved in a hotel in Jeddah about 10 years ago, and there's a huge difference between then and now in the whole field of Saudi Arabia. And that's, of course, the vision of one man who's actually making that happen. So I've never met him, but he's a bit of a genius. And the interesting thing, there's a leader of all the various tourism development projects, and he gets involved in a lot of the detail, even down to decoration sometimes. I don't know how he has the time to do it, as well as being, getting involved in the international affairs of the country. And they all say, of course, it's wonderful to work for someone who's instigated a thing, and he's going to be there to see it come to fruition.
Where do you see tourism in Saudi Arabia in the year 2030? Because that's the next big sort of milestone year for the country. Where do you think tourism will be at that point, in 5 years from now, let's say?
Well, it's difficult, but I mean, with the developments going on, obviously there's going to be a lot of new hotel accommodation and rather wonderful hotels in wonderful locations. They're building up the internal infrastructure, which is still probably behind the level of development that's taken place on the hotel front. Internal flights and so on. There's a new airline happening, which will be the sort of top-end luxury airline coming in from all over the world. So all that has to happen and continue to develop as it is now. And I think then there's no reason why Saudi Arabia shouldn't be one of the major tourist destinations in the world.
Let's talk a bit about your hotel group. Your specialty is luxury hotels. I'm told the typical size of a Forte hotel is between 80 and 120 rooms. Do correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a sort of a magic formula behind a Forte hotel? What's the secret sauce?
Well, I think there are a number of aspects, and today there's all the major groups becoming bigger and bigger. Marriott has 34 brands, Accor has 50 plus. Four Seasons has moved from being a 40 hotel company to 140 hotels, and they become, I suppose, rather corporate in their approach. I think we take an individual approach to our hotels. Each hotel is different. Each hotel has to be authentic, relate to the location, and we have to create a bit of magic in in what we do for the customer. People ask me what luxury is about. Well, luxury is different for every single person, using this in a different way. So we've got to understand our customers and understand what they want as individuals. We're not a supermarket, we're a sort of bespoke tailor, if you like, in the service that we create for our customers. And that's what I focus on. The other thing, I think, everybody in the luxury sector is expected to give good service, but I think we have a sort of warm and friendly approach to the service we give. And that, to a great degree, is because there's a family involved, not only owning the business, but involved in the detail of running the business. I started off with my sister, Olga, who's still very much involved, and she oversees the decoration and so on of the hotels, although we use plenty of outside designers now, but she guides them to give the hotels the feel that we want. And then my children have started getting involved in business. My son is now, Charles is doing the development, and he's driving that forward very, very fast. And he's much more familiar with this part of the world than I am now, because he's been here quite a lot, and we're looking at a number of potential projects. Hopefully in the next year or so you will start hearing about these projects in more detail. So there's this factor of family means that people in the business know who they're working for. They know they're working for individuals, not an amorphous organization. Between us, we're in the hotels a lot, so they know us personally, they know our likes and dislikes. They see the passion we have for giving service to the customer and the care that we want to take place in relation to the customer. And it feeds through, and it creates a different atmosphere from a big corporate organization. I think it makes our hotels very special.
Of course, this is a region where the family business model is particularly prominent and visible, isn't it?
Yes, to a great degree. I mean, obviously, family business can have a bad reputation in the sense that they're not up to date, they're not well organized, and so on. I have a terrific executive team in my business, and my children who work in the business fit in as part of that team. They're not sort of separate and running the business at a tangent to that.
You've actually
it works very, and there's great atmosphere. People who come work for us from different organizations, and some of the bigger organizations I mentioned, say it's wonderful working because everybody's closely integrated, closely in touch. Everything is transparent. There's very little politics, if any at all, and so it's a very nice atmosphere to work in.
I was going to say you've answered my question about succession planning, because it sounds like your children are indeed already picking up the reins and being groomed up, it would appear, for eventually running your business. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, in due course. I mean, I think obviously they're quite young, my children, at the moment, and there will probably have to be an interim transition before we get to them. But I'm in my own mind, I have a clear idea of how that's going to happen.
We don't have very long left, but you were born in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
You spent most of your life there. And I just wondered, because I know you have been active and vocal on the political scene to a certain degree, what you make of the current state of British leadership and the state of the economy, because we're seeing an increasing number of people moving to this part of the world. What do you think's behind that?
Well, because we've lost a sort of sense of enterprise and encouragement of entrepreneurship. We've got more like the European Union, where government intervention and new laws and regulation have slowed everything down. Labour laws make it very difficult for employers. In Britain, we've got a new labour bill coming through, which will allow the unions they're already rampant, to run wild and take us completely back to the 70s. So I remember the 70s very well. I'm old enough to, to be working at that time. And, the country was a disaster. Everybody said it had no future. And then along came Mrs. Thatcher and changed it. And since her, basically, everything's gone downhill ever since. The Conservative governments we've had have been sort of not proper Conservative governments, or the middle ground, and all that, and that's led us to the current government we have, which is a socialist government, doesn't understand business, talks about growth, but everything it does is against growth. So I'm very negative about the UK at the moment, unfortunately, it's not clear this government will last its term because it has a huge parliamentary majority, although it didn't have a big majority, only 34% vote in the country. But it's not clear what's going to come after them yet, and that's the big question.
Okay, well, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Sir Rocco Forte, President of Rocco Forte Hotels. Thank you very much indeed, sir. And thanks to you for watching this special edition of the Riyal Deal Plus here on Al Arabiya English. Do stay tuned.